Hello, Professor Bontempi. The purpose of today's video is to briefly expose the concept related with classical conditioning, as well as briefly expose a little experiment I carried out with one of my pets. Classical conditioning has been discovered by Mr. Ivan Pavlov and has been defined as a process by which we learn to associate stimuli and consequently to anticipate events. In other words, organisms learn to associate an input with an event that rapidly follows it. There are two main features associated with the classical conditioning: stimuli and responses. They are furthermore broken down into unconditioned and conditioned stimuli and responses, as well as a neutral stimuli. I'm going to explain in details in the next slide. Mr. Pavlov has historically worked with dogs. He trained dogs to associate an unconditioned stimulus, food, with a neutral stimulus, the ring of a bell. At the beginning of the process, as we see in number 1, before conditioning, the dog would respond to the unconditioned stimulus, the food, with an unconditional response, a natural response, which would be the salivation at the presence of the food. Before the conditioning, the dogs will not have any response to the ring of a bell. During the third phase, called acquisition phase, Pavlov would pair the presence of the food with the ring of the bell. At that presence, the dogs would react with an unconditional response. They were thinking about food. However, at the end of the acquisition phase, the dogs would react with the salivation response only at the presence of the bell. That means that they would respond with a conditioned response to a conditioned stimulus. The bell at that point became the conditioned stimulus, and they would respond with a conditioned response. There are two other concepts associated with classical conditioning, which are extinction and spontaneous recovery. Extinction is a decrease in the conditioned response when the unconditioned stimulus is no longer paired with the conditioned stimulus. The dogs will not respond with salivation anymore if the bell will be repeatedly presented without the food. Spontaneous recovery means the return of a previously extinguished conditioned response following a resting period. And now I'm going to briefly expose my experiment. I conditioned my cat on the upper left of the corner with a laser pointer. The unconditioned stimulus will be the laser, the red dot. The unconditioned response will be the cat getting excited at the laser, that she would naturally get excited. Now, what I did was continuously pairing the laser with the noise produced by the keychain of the laser pointer itself. So with time, the cat learned to raise her level of attention at the presence of only the noise of the keychain in a sort of Pavlovian way. Instead of producing salivation, she will become more aware because she was expecting the laser. And here is a brief video of the experiment. As we can see, the cat, when I start to move the chain, she will start to become more aware of the situation, and when finally the laser arrived, she became even more excited, but she did show excitement even before the arriving of the laser. The last two concepts that need to be exposed to cover classical conditioning are the concept of discrimination and generalization. Discrimination means that an organism reacts differently in the presence of stimuli that are similar to the conditioned stimulus. In my cat example would be if I would have made noise with a different keychain, she would have not reacted to that. because she would have been able to discriminate the sound of the specific keychain associated with the laser with other sounds. On the other hand, there is the concept of generalization. Generalization means that organisms react in a similar manner, in a similar way, to stimuli that are similar enough to the conditioned stimulus. Following the same example, if my cat would get excited at the presence of different keychain noises, that would be an example of generalization. Thank you very much.